music, this is bridging the gap. Well, for the love and respect of the music, this is bridging the gap. Bridging the gap, yeah.
Hi, I'm John Acuse. I'm the host for Bridging the Gap. Bridging the Gap is about respect and understanding of bluegrass, country, blues, rock and roll, and heavy metal.
Hi, I'm Camille Mosley. I am the co-host for Bridging the Gap. Today with us we have Justin Crider, representing our country of the 5 genres we've covered today. Justin, can you begin with telling us a little bit about yourself, such as when you started in music and why, maybe?
Sure. I got my start in music pretty early on. I started playing the guitar about 9 years old. My grandpa played the guitar and my uncle. And so they taught me a song on July 4th of whatever year it was. I'm not going to say that I was 9 years old. And I've been playing ever since. I picked up the piano and a few other instruments along the way, and played in church for about 17 years. And now we're doing our country thing, and we're playing local venues and weddings and private parties and anything that benefits. We got a St. Jude benefit coming up later this month, and just anything we can get. Try to stay busy. That's what it's all about, right?
Exactly. I got a quick question to ask you. Me personally, I prefer a certain brand of guitar. Personally, I prefer, BC Rich or Epiphone. Is there a specific brand that you may prefer or lean towards?
Right now I play a Taylor. I've got an Ibanez as a backup guitar. I really like a Taylor guitar. It's smooth action, the neck feels good to me, and I've played some Yamahas and the necks are real fat. It just doesn't really fit to me. So I like the thin neck and the smooth way that a Taylor plays, and of course mine's beat all to pieces. We're wireless on stage for our show, and so I try to run around and jump off stage, and occasionally I hit things, and so there's chips and dings, but it plays better with every knock in it, I think.
That's character.
Yeah, that's for sure. Just like me, I think.
Exactly.
Do you do only acoustic shows? You do full band, or what do y'all actually do as the Justin Crider band or Justin Crider?
We do several variations. We do an acoustic show. We do, I don't know what you would call it. It's like another variation of an acoustic show where I bring another guitar player with me. It just adds a little something to it. And then of course we do the full band shows as well. So it's a lot of fun. We try to, like I said, we try to stay as busy as we can, take whatever we can get. So
I've got another one, if I may ask. Me personally, I like using kind of different gauge strings on different guitars. On electric, I go 9s. On acoustic, I go 11s.
Right, sure.
10, 11s. What kind of gauge? Well, mainly acoustic. What kind of gauge do you?
Well, I usually stay in the medium gauge range, because if I don't, then they just fly right off on the first song. Like, that goes back to the knocks I was talking about a minute ago. I beat one pretty good, so I stick with a medium gauge that gives you the ring and still holds up to the thrashing that it gets on stage. So yeah, and it's affordable too. So I use the Martin mediums because they're right there in my price range.
I heard a rumor.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know if it's your crazy manager that overloads Facebook with it, but I heard that you may have a CD in the works and a video coming up. Is there any truth in that?
Yeah, there's some truth in that. The part about the manager being crazy and uploading. And so, but no, we got the album. We're working on the album actually right now. We're working in the studio, Steel Creek Studios, with Quentin Horton. And so, hey, Quentin, if you're watching. And so we got that coming out. We got the music video coming out. By the way, the album's all original, so that's pretty cool. There's one cover song on there by a buddy of mine by the name of Jeff McClellan, pretty well-known songwriter up and coming. And so it's a good tune, and it kind of fit me, so we throwed it in there, and so it's going to be good. I'm pretty excited for it to come out. Pretty excited.
And what's the gentleman's name that's doing your video?
Jack Dunham from Dunham Productions in Bristol. He's up on State Street. So we shot a few shots and we went up and hung out some. And he's got this beautiful rooftop deck right there on State Street. And so it's really nice, a good spot to brainstorm and coming up with the plot is half the thing. Of course, I'm a singer, not an actor, so that's the other half. So it's an interesting thing. I'll be interested to see how it turns out, and hopefully everybody will get to see it before too long. So it'll be good, I hope.
Earlier, when we were just kind of hanging out, I heard you play, and one of your songs I've kind of picked up that there was a hint of what's his name? I believe his name is Steve Earle, and a little
Sure.
bit of Hank Williams Jr.
Sure.
Because when I was listening, I kind of picked up a little bit of that kind of an outlaw.
Yeah, it tells on you, I guess.
What kind of inspiration have you had over the years?
Well, you know, like I say, I spent a lot of time in gospel music, so the slower, more heartfelt things, that kind of influence comes in real handy. So, you know, everything from, like you said, Steve Earle, Hank Jr., Keith Whitley's my hero, my all-time favorite singer, and so I try to have the rock and roll show and the Keith Whitley vocals. That's what I strive for. Of course, I'm no Keith Whitley, and I don't have it yet, but I'm working. That's what I like. That's what I like to have, is to have the fun live show, and then at the same time be able to dial it back and kind of reach out and touch people with certain songs. So the song I wrote called "Comfortably Numb" is going to be the subject matter of the music video, so it'll be pretty good. Just stay tuned and let me know what you think.
One last thing for me that we haven't asked the other artists in the interviews is, how do you personally feel about being asked for this show today, Bridging the Gap, and what are your feelings on Tina's ideas?
Well, I mean, of course, obviously I'm honored to be here and I appreciate the invite. But, you know, music, I guess music initially music got my soul, and country music caught my heart. So I stick with country music because that's what I feel when I write and I really sing from the heart. Then country music is what comes out. So it's the most genuine expression of what I do as an artist. But of course, I listen to all types of genres. So I'm pretty excited to get to work with some of the other artists and hear what they got going on, and maybe catch a live show. I mean, that's really what it's all about. If you haven't seen a live show, you gotta go see these guys live, because that's really the bread and butter for guys like me. If people don't show, then we starve and we don't get the show back. So it's a whole revolving door situation. So.
And I think at this point, Justin's gonna sing us a song, maybe Comfortably Numb, maybe I'm Your Man.
Sure, sure. I'll do the best I can. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
This is Bridging the Gap, and I am here with Justin Crider, and he's going to play a little bit of country for us.
Sure. Sunday morning coming down. But I played games till to do your thing, girl. I've done all I can. But if you're looking for a guy who knows about life, well then, baby, I'm your man. Oh, now, baby, I'm your man. An empty heart, an empty bed. What is and what could have running through my head? Another day without you near. I'm wondering what I'd say if you were standing here. Right now I don't want to feel a thing. I have become comfortably numb. I've not done half of the things that you believe I've done, but here I am. My whole world in my hands, against the wire with nowhere to run. Looking down the barrel of a gun, comfortably numb. The things I say, the things I do, I ask myself every day if it's really true. I can't touch and I can't feel the way I am inside, but I know it's real. But right now I don't want to feel a thing. I have become comfortably numb. I've not done
this part of the show is going to be a country segment. I'm a big fan of, personally, I'm a big fan of outlaw country. I've always loved the kind of mix between kind of the rock and roll atmosphere, if that makes sense, and the actual kind of a inside personal kind of feeling with country music, and I've always loved that mix.
Waylon Jennings, talk about outlaw country.
Mr.
Near dear
Johnny
to you.
Cash, the Man in Black, and
yeah, that's outlaw country. That's the whole genre on its own. I mean, that whole outlaw country thing kind of mixed rock and roll and country together. I mean, you had guys like Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and people like that took a Marty Stewart feel of country and really blended it with, say, Steve Earle.
yeah, no, Steve Earle, I love the, let me think here, what was it? I personally, the first song I've heard by him, I still think it's his best, even though it's a little more kind of the one that he's most known for, mainstream, is Copperhead Road.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love the whole album. I love that whole album. But if I were to say probably my favorite kind of country artist or outlaw country is Waylon. Is Waylon.
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah.
He actually is my fourth. I mean, in that general area, not really sure, but he is my cousin. We're related.
Yeah.
I don't really have the country background, but I do have the music, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah. Country, country's different than a lot of your other styles that we kind of touched on, rock and roll and blues and the bluegrass. It blends in a lot more of the bluegrass elements than per se than the other styles does. But country music's got such a wide variety of styles in it that it's you can't really. It's hard to kind of pigeonhole it and peg it into one style. It's definitely one of the most broad styles of music, I would think.
And I watched a little documentary on country music itself, country music and bluegrass. And I mean, I'm not very familiar with a lot of bluegrass and country, but I did learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was amazed what really they had back then. I mainly watched the main when it kind of really first started to hit big, but what they did go into depth about was really kind of how it started. It's said that it kind of broke off from bluegrass, where bluegrass was a little more of, I want to say, kind of a backwoods kind of thing, sitting on a front porch or going to church
Not
with your
mainstream.
family.
Not
and-
mainstream. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then kind of broke off into like something a little more out there, a little more in the city.
Country really brought bluegrass into the mainstream.
And that's one thing I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, I mean, you had guys like Marty Stewart that went from playing, a good example is Bob Dylan. I was talking with someone about recently. Dylan was strictly acoustic through the first part of his career, and then he started playing electric guitars, and people, they almost rioted over it. I mean, it was just, you'd have people leave entire shows whenever he'd pick up an electric guitar. But Marty Stewart, people like that really started to kind of bring it in more mainstream and make it acceptable, I guess, in the house, and in most households where they wouldn't. Electric music was looked at as a bad thing. It was very much looked at as not good. It was just not accepted.
Yeah, especially where country music is a very traditional form of music, like bluegrass.
Yeah.
And they really didn't like the new cutting edge.
No, yeah. So it was very big having guys like, again, not to use him over and over again, but Marty Stewart was one of the big people to really start to kind of bring that in. Nowadays you've got a big part of what you hear coming out of Nashville and different newer country artists is very much a bluegrass feel, like Rascal Flatts, somebody like that. It's very much a bluegrass bass. Over top of more electric instruments and things like that, but it's you wouldn't have bands like Rascal Flatts and people like that if it weren't for people like Marty Stewart and Waylon Jennings and his name. They're just various different artists. I mean, guys like Pure Prairie League. When they started, the Pure Prairie League turned out, some of the members out of it very much morphed into mainstream country. I mean, it's really an evolution of music. Bluegrass kind of started it, which morphed into country music, and then brought the country music really brought bluegrass music back into a mainstream audience. So.
And I used to watch. I mean, I still do. I listen to a lot of Waylon Jennings, and I went back. There's a lot of people. I mean, it's just like with a lot of heavy metal bands, rock and roll blues. You find an artist you like, but it's one of the newer songs.
Mm-hmm.
But you go back, because with me and a couple other artists, I started with their newer stuff, but then I went back to see what it was like.
Vince Gill's a perfect example of that. When you listen to Vince Gill, he's country. But like I said a minute ago, Pure Prairie League, when they started out in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, was bluegrass. So they were a straight bluegrass band. But now you listen to Vince Gill, and he's, I mean, as mainstream as country can get.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and look at his history, I mean, he came up playing gospel and bluegrass. I mean, and now he's kind of the quintessential mainstream artist. So.
And one thing with Waylon, him along with Marty Stewart really brought the electric guitar into country. Because especially in the late 50s, when you see Waylon, it's before he really got into the outlaw.
Yeah.
He was clean shaved,
Oh, yeah.
slick back hair like the Man in Black, and
Very much.
I mean, he used a beautiful Fender Telecaster as
yeah.
a custom made, and it's
Telecaster is really what you associate with country music. Yeah, Telecasters, Stratocasters, that single coil sound is really what you associate with country. Yeah.
I like both acoustic and electric. I mean, I think they're evened out because their sounds, tones you can get out of acoustic, you can't with electric. There's, I mean, it's also the same way around, and there's kind of like a gap in between. There's electric acoustics, and then there's hybrid guitars, and I mean, there's so much of a variety, and it's incredible. I mean, once you kind of sit down and think about it, you're like, wow.
Yeah. For country music especially, and it's kind of like blues is in one way. It's an expressive. I mean, it's all about, you're mad, you're happy. I mean, you miss your girlfriend. You're whatever.
She mistreated me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very much an expressive thing. So your choice of instrument really makes a big difference on your expression. I mean, if you're playing something that you want to really have a what you call like your traditional country twang. I mean, you get that kind of that kind of natural Waylon Jennings, like a Waylon Jennings sound. Versus nowadays, a lot of the modern country actually uses more distorted sound, more distorted. What most the country music I think nowadays is very much a mixture of almost what you would call classic rock in the 70s.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen just solely to the music of it, country music nowadays is very much a blend of the old school Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Vince Gill, blended with Southern rock. So, I mean, it's a really neat mesh. It's a neat blend. It's a good way to bring a lot of people together that like a lot of varieties of music into one genre.
And I was, speaking of that, one thing that I really liked about Waylon is during the very early 70s, he fell into a depression. He was fighting, I believe, hepatitis.
Yeah.
And he was very down and tried to go to the people that he knew that produced him. And they, wouldn't, give him, as much money as they needed. So he fell into a depression and, fighting all this stuff off. And that's when he started to become outlawed because one of his
fed up with the music industry.
Yeah, he didn't really.
Country music's a good avenue for that.
I forgot the guy's name. It'll be 3 a.m. Then I'll wake up.
That sounds like a good country song.
And he saw kind of like a new trend going on of rock and roll.
Yeah.
He went to Waylon's house. His lady opened the door and walked in, saw him in his bedroom. Really didn't look good. You can tell he was sick and down. And then talked to him for a little bit, tell him about what's starting to happen, what's coming out. And then later on, once he kind of became friends and started talking to Willie Nelson, he ended up playing in a place called, I believe it's called the Armadillo.
Yeah. Yeah, the Armadillo Club. That's a nice
yeah.
nice brief. Yeah,
It's kind of a-
the rest is history. So
Yeah, it's kind of more of a outlaw
Yeah.
kind of place, and then he talked to Waylon about it. Then he was showing up, I started playing the music he felt, and at that time, Waylon talked to Willie Nelson, said, "What the so you got me into?"
yeah,
But then you started playing, and they really both enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Started growing hair a little, the beard, and
yeah. The rest is history.
Exactly.
Alrighty.